Hello, in this HTML crash course video, we're going to cover images. Very simple prospect or simple idea. Let's create an image tag as we have very similarly done with div tags, span tags, etc. Provide a source which is src, and this is the path. Again, that's the important part, the path to the image that you want to show. And the reason I'm emphasizing path is because if the image is local, so imagine if I have the image in the same directory as this file, I would just type in, I don't know, image.png if it was called image.png. But if I were to organize my website a little better, because you want to organize, especially when your website gets bigger, that's not a word, bigger, and you have more files, then you'll abstract it into a folder such as images. Then you can't just put image.png, you need to do something like images/image.png. If the folder or the file is a root up, directory up, you do something like that. But if you are accessing it from a website, you would just put the website URL. So what I'm going to do is just type into here Batman, go to images, check out this one, and what we want to do, make sure you get the link to the image, not a link to a website. Obviously technically this is a link to a website, but not what I mean is not a link to a post. Make sure it's the link to the image. Best way to make sure, if you right click it, actually I can't right click and get it, I would have to inspect it simply because I'm guessing this has been added as a background image using CSS. But I can just copy from here. Usually, if the best way to tell if it has a file extension that you know there is an image like SVG is scalable vector graphic, PNG or JPEG, those are the common ones, or GIF for that matter, then it's an image. SVG is something that you will come across a lot more. It's a very good file format for the web and just in general. So if I were to paste this into here, to close this off, you put /greater than. And the reason you don't have a closing image tab, because this is a void element, which means it has zero content. This would, see, as you can see, even autocomplete isn't doing this because this is technically incorrect. You don't want to do this for any element that does not have any content. And what I mean by that, I'm not saying any element that you create that you don't put content in. I mean any element that doesn't support content, like an image tag or a horizontal line or a break line like the BR tag. Then you close it off something like this. As I've mentioned in a previous video, you don't need to put this / here, but I do it out of habit because something like XML, XHTML, you need to close all the tags. It's just a good practice, in my opinion, to get into. So if I save that, I go back to my website, refresh. As you can see, we got our nice, beautiful image. You may have noticed it's an inline element. So let's put it on a separate line. So let's do BR. Again, this is a void element. If I refresh, it's now on a different line. But the difference is this image is the original size. It's displayed at its original size. To change this, you can use CSS. We're not really covering that in this series. We're going to cover CSS a little bit towards the end and just how to do it. But another way you can do with images is use the width and the height attribute. To do that, you put width equals, put a figure like 100 for example, or height equals 100 for example, and save that. Go back, refresh, and now it's 100 by 100. I want to show you what happens if I omit the height value. If I refresh, you might be thinking, it hasn't changed. Why hasn't it changed? Because the original file, if I recall, it was 520 pixels by 520 pixels. So shouldn't this be 100 pixels wide but 520 pixels tall? No, it maintains the ratio. Unless you would say height equals 520 pixels, this is the original height, it still maintains the ratio. It's just the actual container. If I were to inspect the element, let's find it right here, the actual container itself is what is different. The actual image that you physically see is maintained, which is neat. Chances are you don't want it to look all distorted and messed up or squashed. The final attribute we're going to show you is the alt tag. Alt tag you'll probably use on a bunch of elements. I mean the alt attribute, I should say, not tag. The alt attribute allows you to provide some information about the image for screen readers, because a screen reader can't really read the image and describe that. You can't just say, oh, this is Batman. Machine learning hasn't got to that point yet. You will get to it, but it hasn't got to it yet. So if I were to put Batman image, save that, refresh, and apart from obviously the resize the change in the height, nothing has changed, and it won't do. The only thing that you can notice is if you go to inspect and you go to the alt Batman image, the alt is there, and that just allows screen recorders, like for accessibility, to be able to get some information about this image. So you could just say it's a Batman image, or it's this, or it's that. So that is it for images in HTML. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, let us know. If you didn't, let us know as well. We're always looking to improve. There will be a link in the description to the source code and the source code from every other video in this series. And as usual, actually forgot to mention one thing. If you do have any question whatsoever, feel free to post it on my education platform, sonarlearning.co.uk. And as usual, thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great day.